Hello and welcome to Whisky Resource. My name is Mark. I'm not reviewing whiskies today. I'm doing a recap of my standout whisky for the year. Now, everybody has experienced 2020 as probably the year from hell. I don't think there's anybody that hasn't been touched by this really terrible year that we've all experienced. However, whilst we've been isolated from loved ones and we're being in the house more often than we would normally experience, the whisky community has been absolutely fantastic. I set up my channel, officially set up my channel this year. I have been going for a couple of years, but I rebranded, and Whisky Resource was born in February, just before the whole lockdown, and it actually gave us something to do. It was a bit of a break from looking after my disabled son. I was able to focus my mind on something more than just caring for him. So I've been able to get something from this year. But as I say, the whisky community has been fantastic in that we all love to attend whisky tasting festivals. I was fortunate to attend the Whisky Lounge Festival in Newcastle just before the first COVID-19 lockdown occurred, and it was a great experience. But from that, lack of a social venue to attend, online whisky tastings took over, and that is something that's been really good from this year, and long may that continue. There's been some notable festivals, particularly I'd like to shout out the Summerton Festival, which is one I took part in remotely by purchasing samples and watching the live stream, and that was a fantastic festival. So let's hope that Dan there at Summerton does another festival, because it was very enjoyable. But the whole online whisky environment has exploded, which is really good to see. For those people who can't get out and visit the distilleries and the distillery shops and get to festivals, the online is great. It's great to see. And of course, another shout out goes to the Mr. and Mrs. New Dram Drinker for setting up the Certified Original Club online. It's a free group of whisky enthusiasts, be it people like myself who do whisky reviews on YouTube, as well as enthusiasts who maybe do blogs, or maybe people who are actually within the actual industry itself, ambassadors and blenders. They're all part of the community, as well as just those who would attend festivals and buy whiskey, enjoy drinking whiskey, and actually don't put themselves out there and actually produce content. So it's a great community, and if anybody wants to join, then I'll try and drop a link into the description below, and you can go ahead and check them out. And Anthony and Nikki there, a New Dram Drinker, will more than happy to see their community grow. So what I want to focus on with this video is essentially looking at what I see as the notable whisky for this year. I can't really just stick to one whisky though. I'm not going to say this is my standout whisky of the year. Whilst there is one, there's actually a few whiskies that I want to shout out about today, because I think they're fantastic, and if you haven't tried it, you're going to have to try it, and if you haven't got a bottle, you'll want to buy a bottle. At least I think so. So the first whisky I'm going to shout out about, if you haven't already checked out my website, go ahead, whiskyresource.com. If you do visit my website and you keep track of my reviews, it won't come as any surprise to see that this was Ralphie's whisky of the year last year, and for good reason. Deanston 12-year-old single malt whisky, bottled at 46.3% ABV. It is a fantastic whisky. It really is a nice whisky. I scored this 90 out of 100 for just being a faultless whisky. It's tasty. It's got some lovely funky notes going on in here, which just make it stand out a bit differently. For those of you who like kind of funky notes that you can't really put your finger on exactly what that is, it has that. Although It still has a lot of classical malt notes that you get, barley sugar, sweet oak. It's fruity. It's got a bit of spiciness going on there. It is unpeated, but it is just a glorious whiskey, and it's produced by the Distill Group. And as I say, I rated it 90 out of 100, and it gets a good value score as well. So value score of 97.14. It retails for £37.93 as an average price, looking at the biggest online whisky retailers. Take an average, and that's the price. The value score, for those that haven't seen many of my videos, it looks at the age of the whisky, what the ABV is. It looks at whether it's chill filtered, whether it's a natural colour, other attributes which are calculated on are also, you know, if it's cask strength, is it single cask, those kind of things. So I've got this algorithm that I put all these bits of information in, and it spits out a value as to whether or not out of 100 it scores highly or lowly, and that's the value score. But of course that isn't accounting for taste and nose. So my own personal favouritisms, as it were, towards a whisky then go towards giving an overall score, which also takes into account the value of the bottle, the presentation of the bottle, and things like that. And Deanston, for me, is a fantastic whisky, but it isn't the whisky of the year, because I'm not necessarily... We'll continue. So the second whisky that I want to give a shout out at is, well, another Distill whisky, which I've purchased recently, I reviewed recently. Boon Harbin 12-year-old. Again, it's bottled at 46.3% ABV. It is non-chill filtered, natural colour. It retails for, just get the price here for you, it retails for £42.70, but you can pick this up quite often less than that, because it pops up in supermarkets, online, on places like Amazon, with discounts. I purchased this just before Christmas when it was £30. £30 for this whiskey, that's incredible, absolutely fantastic. If you've seen my review of this particular whiskey, you will know that I called this the Whiskies. It's a whiskey of taste. It tastes like what you would imagine whiskey should taste like. It should smell like. It's the most whiskey of whiskies in my mind. It's just a really tasty, nice whiskey. And when I opened this bottle the other day and had a dram, I thought, wow, yes, it's just as nice as the day I tried the sample. And then I tried another dram a few days later, and it's fantastic. But what surprised me the most is the dram after that was a Glenfarclas 15-year-old, and having had this first, the Glenfarclas felt a little bit more dilute than it would do normally. This is packed such a flavour. It's very much deserving of the 90 that I scored it, which is the same as the Deanston 12. It's unpeated. However, I have just read there that where did I see it? I read something about smoke, but I can't pick up any smoke at all in this. No, I must have imagined that. So there you go. Yeah, fresh aromatic, fruity floral with hints of dried fruit and subtle prevalence of smoke. The smoke is so light it's barely noticeable, and it's not a peaty whiskey at all. In fact, I would say that in terms of peat, a scale of 1 to 10, it's not even 0. It doesn't give it any smoke or peat to me. So it's a fantastic whiskey. So that's 2 whiskies that I've tried this year that I heartily recommend. Fantastic whiskies. So next whiskey that I've had this year, which, to be honest, I think if you haven't tried them before, do I did, go online to one of the whiskey retailers, Master of Malt, or the Whiskey Exchange do samples that you can order, and get yourself a sample of this, the Westland American Oak. Now, I did a review of this off the back of a Drink by the Dram sample, and in my review I recommended them because I also reviewed the Sherry Wood shortly after. I recommended that maybe try purchasing the triple pack of the 200ml bottles, which retail for £75. However, I saw this Westland not long ago in a local whisky retailer, and it was slightly less than I would pay online for it. And of course, I didn't have to pay any shipping. So I thought to myself, wow, I have to get a bottle of that, because I enjoyed the little sample I had, and I've had a couple of drams from this since opening it, and I've not been disappointed. It's just like I remember it. It's got this incredible chocolate note sitting there on the nose, which also follows through into the palate. It kind of reminds me of the Bimber ex-bourbon, and also the Bimber Recharred, which I've got a bottle of, in that it has that like funky chocolatey note going on there. That same note you can pick up in a Daft Mill I've tried, the 2007 Daft Mill that was kindly supplied by Stuart over at Whisky Whims. So go check Stuart out. I'm getting that same note that's in that Daft Mill in here, and it is a really enjoyable note, and that's what makes this whiskey for me. It's just something unique. You don't pick that note often in whiskey, but it's strong in here, and I like it. I think I don't know where that note's coming from, but this does have in the mash bill a pale chocolate malt, so maybe that's contributing to it. But it is matured in a combination of casks. You've got new American oak, you've got ex-bourbon first fill casks as well for the maturation. You've got several different malts in the mash bill. I see I've mentioned the pale chocolate malt, but you've got Washington Select pale malt, you've got Munich malt, you've got extra special malt, and you've got a brown malt. And if you've done any homebrew like I've tried in the past and will do again hopefully next year when things get back to normal, the different malts that you choose can really add, even in the smallest quantity, can really add some different characteristics to a beer. So when it comes to the distillation process, I'm sure it adds something extra that you don't normally get. Anyway, it's bottled at 46% ABV. It is natural colour, it is non-chill filtered. It's slightly expensive in the retail price of $64.95, but this is owned by the Bacardi Group, recently taken over by the Bacardi Group, the Remy Cointreau group. So distribution is going to be better across here, hopefully. In terms of prices, it isn't much less in the United States as it is here. I think it's about £58. It works out to £58 when you do the conversion from dollars, which isn't a lot less than we're paying for it. So bear in mind shipping across here. That's a great price. So it didn't get the best value score based on that price and the fact that it is only 3-year-old in terms of age statement. So that's where it drops down. But it got a 78 on the value score. But in terms of an overall score, I gave that an 87 at the time. And since having the bottle and trying it a little bit more, I'd increase that to an 88 easy. So for me, this is a standout whiskey to maybe try if you haven't already done so. Cracking dram from the United States. I've got another 2 bottles here that I'm going to share with you as being standout whiskies of the year. So the next one, it's from the Angus Dundee distillery group, and it is a 10-year-old Highland malt, which I've been having quite a few drams of, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So it's the Glencairn 10-year-old. I had a dram of this last night just to remind myself how amazing this whiskey is, and for me it just sits under the radar. People in the know about this, but it's not really talked about an awful lot in the whiskey community. I've seen a post today of somebody's just picked up a bottle of this on the Certified Originals, so well done for that, because this is a cracking bottle and I will always have another bottle of this once this one's finished. It's bottled at 46% ABV. It is non-chill filtered. It is natural colour. It retails for £34.90. It gets a value score of 96.51, and I gave this an overall score of 89. It is an outstanding 10-year-old. This is quite possibly the best 10-year-old I've ever tried, bar none. It is absolutely superb. It's delicate, but the flavours are just magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. So you're getting like a really nice grassy note on the nose with citrus tones and some malty spiciness coming through on the nose with a bit of oak. Again, on the palate, same kind of story. It's crisp, citrusy, it's refreshing. It's very much a spring summery dram that you can just sip and enjoy in the sun. But as I say, I had one last night and it was enjoyable. You can enjoy this all year round, but particularly I think the spring summer months is an enjoyable time for this. It's a little sweet, but my word, is this a lovely dram. And I tried the 15-year-old, and I did a review of the 15 this year as well. And this is, for my mind, better than the 15. It's the 15 similar, but given the extra price and the extra 5-year maturation, I would expect the 15 to be better by quite a margin, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all, for my mind, much better at all. So the 10 is a more affordable whiskey. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible. And again, it's unpeated, no smoke going on there. It's a really easy drinking whiskey that somebody who's new to whiskey could enjoy just as much as the enthusiast. So my final whiskey that I'm going to say, and this, if I had to give a whiskey of the year, this is it. This is the whiskey that has been the standout of the whole year. It's the whiskey that I'm not surprised I was going to enjoy it. But it came about through the Campbelltown Whisky Festival. So it's the 14-year-old Tawny Port finish from Thenscottish. And I adore this whiskey. It is just, I'm just taking it slow. I'm trying not to grab this bottle as often as I could because it's a limited edition. You can still pick it up online. It retails for $74.95, I believe. Let me just go back. Yep, $74.95. Again, it's part of the Loch Lomond Group, who own Glencairn and Little Mill, I believe. As I say, retails for $74.95. Non-chill filtered, natural colour, ABV of 52.8. It is a combination of ex-bourbon matured casks, recharged ex-bourbon matured casks, first fill ex-bourbon matured, and Tawny Port finished casks. It's got a lovely red-pink hue to it. It is peated, very much peated. It's got this classical Campbelltown maritime influence of kippers and sea spray, salty sea spray, peat. It's like having a barbecue on the beach with the wind lashing sea spray at the fish that you're grilling with maybe some meats. It's fruity, like jam level fruit. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible. And you know what? I've got the 2018 and the 2019, the ruby port and then the rum port, the rum finish from the previous 2 years festivals, and they're equally as nice. I would say this is nicer, but every time I try one of the others, I go, no, the other ones are better. They're all outstanding, but I scored this 91 out of 100. This is the highest scoring whiskey I've given any of the reviews this year. It is absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's going to be many people who will go that there's been a better whiskey that I've tried this year. Undoubtedly there's probably going to have been better whiskies released this year. Unfortunately, I've not tried them, so I can't comment on them. But of all the whiskies I've tried this year, this is the one that I would just go back and go, yeah, you know what, fantastic. I've only managed to pick up one other bottle of this. If I could afford to buy another bottle, I would. because in a few years' time, you know, when this one's all gone, I want to crack open that second bottle and just sit back and just remember how fantastic this whiskey is. 91 out of 100. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic whiskey. So, what do you make of that list? 5 recommended whiskies of the year go to Deanston 12-year-old, the Boon Harbin 12-year-old, the Westland American Oak, the Glencairn 10-year-old, and of course the Glen Scotia 14-year-old 2020 Malts Festival for Campbelltown. That's it. That's such a lineup that I enjoy. You know, if I wasn't allowed to drink any other whiskies and just have those for the rest, I'll be happy. They are fantastic whiskies. Bizarrely, there are no sherry bombs amongst them, and I love sherry bombs. I think the most sherried one in there is the Boon Harbin. Of course, it's got port whiskies, I love as well. That's it. So it just leaves me to say, I hope you've had a great Christmas, and I hope 2020 ends better than the middle section, and I hope 2021 is a great year for you all, and we'll all get back to some level of normality where maybe we can meet up at some whiskey festival someplace. Yes.